Creating this set of videos after conducting interviews for NAMI Kansas has been the most meaningful project. It's very heavy subject matter, discussing suicide, how people gave and received support, and personal viewpoints on raising suicide prevention awareness. I want to thank Quincy and Cherry and the rest of the NAMI Kansas team for all your help and support making this such an impactful event. And to all the individuals and families and supporters who came forward to share your experiences with me, you all are such a blessing.
I don't know what's going to happen with all of this, but it is absolutely powerful. It's beyond anything that another person can comprehend. Or maybe it's the very thing that pulls you right back up out of it. It came together. It always amazes me. Something real and raw. It's emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, and physically draining. But it's amazing. You know, and it just lets you take in, this is why we do what we do. This is why I went through this last several weeks on this project right here, the impact. I just want people to take it in. Sit down and take it in. Okay, all right, I'm going to run into the work, and then we're going to get started on this space. All righty, I'll talk to you later. All right, bye.
Almost a decade ago, my board of directors asked me to begin to look at how we could, as a community mental health center, make an impact in our community in the number of deaths by suicide. And so we created our Johnson County Suicide Prevention Coalition. And that organization brings together a collaborative of about 500 individuals from a number of agencies throughout Johnson County, both providers of service as well as just businesses within Johnson County. And together, this coalition has worked over the last 10 years to promote mental health awareness and to provide mental health options and services, as well as to provide prevention materials around suicide and suicide awareness. And so what we've seen happen over the last 10 years is that we have seen a slow decline in deaths by suicide overall. Back in 2016, through a partnership between the Mental Health Center and our 6 school districts, we created a youth campaign called 0 Reasons Why. And 0 Reasons Why was really intended to disrupt youth suicides. It was a campaign that was for the kids to be able to come to us and tell us what they wanted to do, what they wanted to say, and how they wanted to react to this issue of young people dying by suicide. And what we found over the last 4 years is a significant decrease within our community around youth suicide. And so I believe that there is absolutely a relationship or a correlation between the amount of suicide prevention that you do within your community and the rate of death by suicide within your community. So the more we talk about it, the more we educate one another about it, the more we support one another, the more likely it is that we can get to that 0 suicide expectation that we would all love to see happen someday. So the 2 best ways in Johnson County to find out about what is going on within our community around suicide prevention are 2 ways. First, you can go to the Johnson County Suicide Prevention Coalition website. And second, you can go to the 0 Reasons Why website. Those 2 places provide you an opportunity from both an adult and a young person's perspective in how we can prevent and how you can get active in your community to help promote suicide prevention.
speaking, so we're on the social media topic, I ran across a quote that I posted to Grace in Your Corner Facebook page this week, and that is, as a society, we are quick to stigmatize mental health, right? We're quick to judge with those that might suffer from mental health challenges, but we also mourn suicide. Those don't go hand in hand. Like, okay, let's put it together. If we want to stop mourning suicide, then we have to remove the stigma of mental health, because people are going to speak up and they're going to talk if they're not afraid of what A, B, and C is going to think of them, because they're more willing to get the help that they need. But when we are fearful and we're placing a judgment of that person's depressed so they can't do it. I deal with major depressive disorder, like I said, and I can do just as much as anyone else, if not more. I'll make the argument, because I can manage that, but I seek the support that I need. I mean, these aren't permanent handicaps. These are just another challenge, another thing. It's just like a medical diagnosis. You know, we talk about diabetes. We talk about if you have a cavity. People they handle that stuff without any fear, right? That's the same thing with mental health. And that's what we need to do, is we need to start taking proactive steps in having the conversation. It's hard. It's not a fun conversation, and it's not an easy one to have. Everyone gets a little awkward. No one knows what to say. No one knows how to say it. So what do we do when we're uncomfortable? The most common thing that we do is we don't have the conversation. We avoid the conversation. We need to educate. We need to educate each other, society, make it a more common conversation. Because what we do now is we have the conversation amongst each other if you run into a direct impact in your life. But why not? Who says that we can't educate an entire community to let them know? So it becomes less and less and less of that awkward conversation and more day-to-day life. And that's really what is starting to happen, but the steps, they're so far that we need to take. I mean, we are just taking the first few baby steps of where we need to go, because we've got a lot of hurting souls out there. And we've got a lot of people that don't know how to handle it when they run into it. So educate, resources are there. People aren't aware of the resources. Back in Untitled, Kansas, the outreach center that I talked about, one of the main things that we do is we just point them in the right direction. Like, where do you start? I didn't know where I should start. My wife, my family, they weren't sure how to best assist me. We learned together through a process, and now it's time for us to pay it forward and share that with other people.
What you all are doing, this is it, right? So raising awareness, having a month of awareness. Let's just go ahead and be honest on today. What they've done with breast cancer awareness and heightening that, and having October be the month and pink be the color, right? Those things matter, and they make a difference. They draw attention, they draw the right types of attention, and it brings a national spotlight to issues such as suicide prevention. And I say again, an ounce of prevention is better than a pound of cure. Let's have these courageous conversations. Let's continue to have them. And then, of course, I don't know who needs to hear this, but of course, let's start early, right? Let's go into schools. Let's get young people, right? Let's make this a part of their everyday conversation. Let's make them aware. And then if they get it early in their K through 12 or whatnot, then they'll grow up with that. And as a society, if we could find a way to put this level of worth, letting young people know that they're worth, let them know that they're valued, let them know that they're loved. Those things matter because oftentimes when you listen to persons who struggle with suicide ideation, those are a lot of the identifiers that they identify with what they feel a lack of. And so we want to let folks know we're present with you, we see you, we acknowledge you, we're here for you, you are not alone. Those things matter. And so the more we can do that, the awareness that you all are doing is tremendous. We can't do it enough. And I think it's going to take all hands on deck, going across all the communities and letting everyone know partner, find a way to partner, but make it easy for folks. That's key for me. Partnership should be easy. It should not be difficult because that's going to make folks shy away. Let's a very simple, easy way to partner where you can offer your time, talent, and treasure to be a part of this suicide prevention. Is always a winner for me. In this pandemic season, all of us have put more focus on our immune system, right? So we're taking up, we're trying to build our immune system, right? To build up an internal resistance to outside influences. That's how bullying works. That's what your spirit is supposed to do. We want to build up your spirit so that when outside negativity, outside influences come, it's not that it won't impact you. It's not that it won't, but you'll have a defense system. You'll have an immune. You'll be able to fight it off. That's the goal.
Sometimes we have some awareness of other people's suffering, but we don't know what to do about it. We don't know what will happen if we try to talk about it. And so that creates a pressure to not be as aware. So there's an emotional aspect to awareness, as well as educational programs like this one, so that if I see you suffering, maybe I think, I don't know what I would say to Stacey. And then the next time I see you, I might have less awareness because of that feeling like I'm a little helpless here in this situation. So that's one of the relationships between awareness and prevention, and is that you have to be aware of the pressure to not be aware. And what I would suggest is that saying whatever the thought is can be helpful sometimes. Like the example that I was just giving, if I'm seeing somebody that's suffering but I don't know what to say, saying simply what's going on in my head. You know what, I've had this thought that you might be suffering, but I also had the thought, I don't know what to say or if it's even appropriate to say anything. So I just thought I'd let you know what was going on in my head. It actually is increasing awareness in a very microscopic level of what's happening in this moment, in this interaction. And then that awareness allows the other person to say, well, I am suffering, but I have a lot of support right now. Thank you for noticing. I'm doing okay. I just need to be able to experience what I'm going through. Or they might say, I have been struggling and I haven't known what to do about it either. And I'm glad that you said something. And then maybe the two of you think through it together, put your heads together and see what you come up with. And so awareness can be diminished by our fear. That if we're afraid, we might not see all of the things that we would normally see. But the place to start then is just whatever you're experiencing. So to see, oh, I feel afraid right now. I think my friend might be in trouble. They may be struggling. They may be suffering and not knowing what to do. And I'm afraid of that. And then either you can talk to them about it or talk to somebody that you're close to about that. And you're going upstream against the pressure to be unaware of something, to push it out of your mind. Likewise, if somebody has attempted suicide or committed suicide, my gosh, what big feelings that creates in everybody, feelings of regret and guilt and, the wish to be able to turn the clock back and do things differently at another time. And then, all of those kinds of things can get pushed down as well, pushed out of awareness. And we might try to make ourselves feel better by not looking at those things. And so the ability to look at what is there in front of you or inside of you, or what is happening, it takes some emotional strength to be able to do that. But it's actually the easiest place to start is right where you are and saying, here's what's going on right at the very moment. I feel completely lost about this, or I have such big feelings, I don't think I can even talk about it. Those kinds of statements about what a person is experiencing right in the moment can be very good starting points, and they're smaller steps than trying to solve the whole problem, or knowing what to say to make something better, or that kind of thing. I'm reminded of a story of a psychologist who was also a meditation teacher, and he was asked to give a class to a group of people, to give a talk, but he was also beginning to develop Alzheimer's disease, where he couldn't remember things. And so when he stood up to talk to people, suddenly he forgot where he was and what he was doing. But he had made this habit of checking in with himself on a moment-to-moment basis and putting what he was experiencing into words at that kind of level. And so he actually did that as he was standing in front of the group of people, and said, feeling lost, not sure what's happening, don't know what to say, and went on this way. And then as he did that, he eventually remembered, I'm giving a talk on mindfulness to this group of people. And he apologized to them for having gotten lost, but they all said this was the most powerful meditation instruction that they had ever received in their life. And I think that we don't have an awareness of how powerful just reporting what our experiences are on a moment-to-moment basis, and including other people in our experiences. As I was saying in the other section, that when we have a feeling like we're going through things together, then that gives us some empowerment to handle those things. And it can come from, as I was saying before, asking somebody else about their experience. But it can also come from sharing your own experience. And as you share your own experience, you're increasing your awareness of that and the other person's, and the ability to share that experience together. I think that's what life's about, that we share our experiences with each other, what our work is, what our love is, what our play is, what we've discovered, what we've created, the beauty in life, the suffering, what's meaningful to us. I feel like that really is the joy and meaning of life, is to be in it together. And it doesn't take big grand gestures. It might just say, I don't know what to say right now. It might be just saying, you have a nice smile. And we're in that experience together. So it's a little different take on awareness and prevention, but I think as we're aware of what we're experiencing and share that with others, or we're noticing that other people might be experiencing something and asking them to share that with us, that's actually the best prevention for suicide, because suicide is really based in an aloneness. And the antidote to aloneness is sharing our experiences with each other.
Okay. I believe that suicide prevention really begins with people understanding that you can't just tell someone that's dealing with voices or depression or these suicidal ideations, just snap out of it. A lot of times we try to just say, hey, just stop thinking that way, or just snap out of it. You'll be all right. We really have to educate ourselves, knowing that people that go through these things, these feelings and these emotions are real to them. And each person has their own life experiences, their own traumas. And I think compassion is really needed among, behavioral health providers, among police, fire. There needs to be compassion for those that are suffering from mental health issues and suicidal ideations and things. And helping people learn that their feelings aren't always necessarily 100% true, I guess. If something is in your head telling you to kill yourself, that's not really a good thought to have. So is that necessarily God's best choice for your life? Is that coming really from you, or is that some sort of chemical imbalance, or is that some sort of negative thought process you've learned to listen to, or is it just a big feeling? And I think education is really huge, and to have compassion for people in our communities. So
for me, raising awareness is becoming an advocate for people with mental illness. And part of advocacy is addressing the stigma. I have been a victim of stigma myself. I've been fired from nursing jobs when I was found out. I have been seen as one of those people. And I mean, I just look like a normal person. I don't have horns or claws, or, you know, I'm just a regular person. But the first thing people think of is, oh, I'm going to catch it from them if I am around them. So that's what I like about the NAMI Stigma-Free campaign. It's just another way that NAMI is helping to break down barriers, tearing down walls so that we don't have to live in silence anymore. So whether it's before legislatures, which I haven't done yet, but who knows, I may do that in the future, talking at my local congregation, one-on-one with a peer, all advocacy is important. And of course, advocacy is one of the guiding principles of NAMI. They have encouraged me to practice advocacy with my fellow peers, whether in a sermon at church or one-on-one with a friend. I preached at my church on Mother's Day, and in that sermon, I talked about having to go on disability because of my mental illness. And after the service, someone came up to me and needing help, and I was able to help them find a therapist and get into treatment. And I've had 2 other people that I have been able to help because of that sermon, getting them the help that they needed. Being a part of NAMI is so important because they have given me education. I thought I knew everything about mental illness, but they've given me education in how to be a better advocate, and they're helping my husband know how to be a support to me. Instead of me saying, honey, I just don't feel right, well, call your sister. Well, now he doesn't have to say that because he is learning what to do. So that's why it's important to have NAMI as that part of my therapeutic circle of support. So I'm in process of training to be a facilitator in the peer-to-peer program. I have trained for In Our Own Voice, and I just finished training for the helpline. And anything I can do to raise awareness and to break that stigma is, I think, a huge calling for me.
I can't even tell you when I first heard it, but definitely heard it a lot on the job, like that we don't talk about it. We like suicide, okay, we had that call, we move on, we don't talk about it, we don't publicize it, we don't put it out there. And I think that a lot of people still believe that, and that's just, it's not true. It's not true that if we talk about it, then more people are going to want to do it. No, that thought's already in people's minds. The more we talk about it, I strongly believe it's not going to change any of that. It's not going to make more people want to do it. It's going to make more people understand that there are other ways out, that they're not alone, that there are other people feeling these feelings, and that there is help for those. So I think we have to start moving away from that idea that we cannot talk about suicide. I think we absolutely have to do the opposite and talk about it. We have to talk about it as much as we can. We have to say the word. We have to try to remember those that have died from suicide and hopefully learn and prevent others in the future. So I think that's one of our biggest things, especially in my role now at the sheriff's office. We are doing a lot more suicide awareness prevention, whether that be throughout the month of September, whether that be after a call. We got to talk about it. We got to get it out there a lot more and make it known that you're not alone. Like, a lot of people have these feelings, have these thoughts, and there is help out there.
Yeah, I'm with her, and I think on the patient side of it, it's more of like, I think they're too embarrassed to say, hey, I'm hurting, or hey, I want to do this, type of thing. And I think the more we talk about it, the more we just say, it's okay. Like, it's literally a disease. Like, it's almost like having diabetes or high blood pressure or something like that. It's a disease. And to hopefully that people that have this disease are willing to step up and say, hey, I'm hurting, I need help. I think a lot of times that people think that they're not aware, that they don't know how much help there is. I think most of them really do. I personally think that they're just too embarrassed to say something because they don't want to put that added pressure onto their family and their friends. And I think if you'd ask most of the family members of somebody who's died by suicide, they'd much rather have them say something and to take that pressure off of them than rather where we're at right now. So if you are suffering, I don't know, just call somebody. Heck, go to a fire station. My doors are always open. Our doors are always open. If you need some help, stop by a fire station and we'll be there. We'll be there to help you, because that's our job. And not only it's our job, it's we care. We care about the citizens of Topeka. We want to protect them, and we want to do everything we can to make sure that they're safe and that they're happy. And whatever we got to do, we'll do it. So just talk about it.
There's a stigma and a shame around any kind of mental health. But, if you have cancer, you get treatment. If you have diabetes, you get treatment, or you change your lifestyle. You break your leg, you wear a cast, and you get treatment. I mean, we gotta talk about this. We gotta take away the stigma. I don't remember the statistics off the top of my head, but a lot of people have thoughts, I wish I weren't alive, when things get tough. A lot of people have thought about suicide. A lot of people have attempted suicide. We got to talk about it. There's just so much out there that can be done to help people, but it's so hard to ask. I mean, in Adam's notes to us, he talked about being weak and despicable. I guarantee you, nobody ever thought of Adam as weak or despicable, and the fact that he thought about that himself, it breaks my heart. We got to talk about that. We got to talk about this so that people can get help. If you got to name it. Heck, we're in COVID right now. They have a name for COVID, which is awful. That everybody's dealing with this, but we know what it is, and so we know how to prevent it, or at least mitigate it. We know how to treat it. It's the same with suicide, suicidal thoughts, depression, anxiety, whatever mental illness is leading them to have suicide thoughts. We got to talk about it. We got to get them help. We got to make it okay. We got to make it accessible. We got to take away the shame.
And I feel like we're doing this kind of stuff, even though I don't talk much, because I get overwhelmed. It's what we got to do.
Church was hard. to go back to after he died. But we went on those Sundays where the mass was said in his name. We went. And after one of them, we took the kids out to a restaurant to eat. And this is always pre-COVID, of course. And a couple came up to us, and they were sitting with some people from church that knew us. And they came up and they said, we lost a child to suicide. Here's our number if you need us. And I don't think we ever called them, but the fact that we saw another couple still living life, still going out and doing, day-to-day normal activities, it helped us to know that, okay, we can make it through this. Well, they did it, we can do it too. And we had several times where people would come up and share with us that they had lost a child to suicide, and if we needed anything. And we've talked to a few of them. That one particular couple we didn't, but yeah, it's just, it's helpful. It is helpful.
I just actually received a phone call before you came down from
today, now.
Yeah, his one of his dear friends' son just took his life.
Yesterday.
And I'm glad he felt he could call me. And I told him I'd call him back. I didn't tell him we were doing this, but
the best form of suicide awareness is knowing people. Again, it comes down to friendships. It comes down to relationships. How well do you know people? Are they acting strange? Are they, are you familiar enough with the signs that someone might be depressed or despondent or considering suicide? In my case, there was a lot of red flags that my wife was having problems, but I kind of overlooked them because she was pregnant, and I was kind of told by friends that women act weird when they're pregnant, so I would kind of put a lot of those things to the side. Things, I sometimes feel that I probably could have prevented it if I had maybe been a little more aware of some of the signs or symptoms that that people are expressing that might indicate that they're suicidal or are depressed or are thinking about ending their own life. I think the best thing too we can do is honestly to get off the computer. I see a lot of things online sometimes on social media where it's like, hey, if you're feeling sad, here's the suicide hotline. And not that those things aren't helpful, but I think it makes people feel good to post them. But, I would honestly question is that more, what's more effective, posting something online, or is it, how much time have you spent with your kids recently? How much time have you spent with other family members or friends? Are you aware of red flags that they might be going through? Has someone experienced some kind of loss, or have they recently lost a job, or has something happened in their lives that might, trigger something? Are they just going through a hard time in general? I think, again, the best kind of awareness is knowing the signs and knowing those people in your life, in your direct circle of influence, and being able to reach out and see the signs and spot them, and getting help to those people as is needed. Again, my biggest regret is overlooking some of the obvious red flags that were there. And I think if I had noticed those, my life would be very different than it is right now. Yeah, I almost wish there was little things on social media that said, "Hey, here's some signs that somebody may be struggling." You know what I mean? Instead of just posting, if you're feeling sad, call this number, because I'll be honest with you, my wife never would have called that number. She wouldn't have, just because of the state of mind she was in. But if I had, if somebody had said, "Hey, here's 5 signs that someone might be, I don't know, teetering on the edge, or however you want to phrase it. If someone, if I was aware of that, I, it probably would have raised some red flags and said, maybe we need to get you some help, or, I would have been a little more proactive about this situation. It comes back to, how well do you know somebody? And, we can't be with everyone all of the time, and it's easy to lose touch with people. But at the same time, it's, who can we be in touch with, and who can we, just kind of be aware of odd changes in behavior or things like that, so that, if something does come up, we're maybe a little more, alert to say, is something going on here? Or maybe even running it off, talking to another friend or a family member saying, hey, so-and-so is acting kind of odd. Is it just me that's noticing this? Or, have you noticed this too? And if you're concerned, what is it that we can do to help this person? Do we need to talk to them? Do we need to, is there something more urgent that's needed? Big challenge is that it's easy just to get online and look at how everybody's doing online. And well, what people are for the most part posting online is their perfect life, right? No one's going to post. I mean, it happens, but most people don't post, hey, I'm really, I'm feeling really awful today and really dark. I'm in a dark place. Most people won't do that. They'll just, they'll just go off to somewhere else, and they're not going to post that online. They're going to post the glamour pics or the fun pictures, or write the fun things. They're not going to really say, I'm really struggling. That's not common that people do that. And I think it makes us, we feel connected to these people sometimes, scrolling through social media, but a lot of times we're really not that connected to them. We're just seeing a portion of their life. And I think if we were to actually sit down and talk to them and spend an hour with them, would we get a different picture of how they're really doing compared to what we see online? It's the easy way too, right? It's easy to click on, whatever, to open an app and just start scrolling. That's easy. It's hard to maybe pick up the phone or call somebody, or, text somebody and say, hey, we haven't hung out in a while. Why don't we go, why don't we go hang out? Why don't we go, get a drink or something? Or, why don't you come over and spend some, come over for a dinner? That's a harder thing to do. But I think if we did that more, I think, we could make more of a difference in people's lives.
I mean, I love kids. Kids are going through a time right now of confusion and alienation and isolation. And when I was down in Liberal, to boys that I had the privilege of being around, we had to be very intentional about making plans with other parents, and no matter what, getting together, doing something. I don't care if it's playing Call of Duty with another family member or something. The kids need to be engaged, and they need to know that they're loved. They need to know that there's a safe place for them to talk to people about stuff, where they're not going to be judged or thrown in the hospital, as my good friend here said. That is not the answer to everything, honestly. And we have enough. If our community's strong enough, through NAMI, that's where community-based approach. And with Gina at the CRO here in Hayes, and NAMI and CFLE, we have an opportunity to create this community that raises a child. You know what I mean? The village does raise it. And we have people in law enforcement here. We have people with the High Plains Mental Health. We have counselors. We have people in rooms. We have single moms. And NAMI Hayes is moving to NAMI Golden Plains soon. And God's put all these things in our way to make this thing work. And hope, all I can think about is hope. If I would have had these services and this awareness back when I was a kid in Northwest Kansas, my life would have been totally different. Without a doubt. There's no way that I would have put myself through as much as I did. I mean, I would have known that, hey, you know what? It's okay not to be okay. You're not your diagnosis. You're not your disease. You're freaking Art motherfucking Summers, You're going to be all right. And that's what I try to do when I'm around kids, is just love them, listen to them, they're very smart. They say some of the smartest things in the world, my daughter one time, she was 2. Dad, sometimes girls just want you to listen. Simple stuff like that, but she was brilliant, and she was right. You guys want to be listened to. You don't want to be fixed all the time. Kids are very similar to that way. They don't want fixed. They just want somebody to listen to them and to encourage them and to make them feel safe.
And all of this is just raising awareness. My mom is recently, she was a social worker for a very long time. But now she's taking a job in Salina, and what she does is grief counseling. Some of those programs, I mean, they're fantastic. Don't get me wrong. They're great. And just like with addiction or diabetes or whatever, everything works differently for everybody else. I think the one thing that bothers me is and I'm guilty of it too. I said gave up. I used that word, that verbiage. That's inappropriate, and I shouldn't have. But giving up is throwing your hands in the air. We can give up. You know, we can have bad days. You're gonna struggle, but you know the making the victims of suicide, I guess you would call it the people that took their own lives, making them out to be bad people in some way. That shit makes me want to fight people. I mean, flat out. Because I'll tell you right now, the two losses that I've had are the two kindest souls you will ever meet on this planet. You know, the awareness is there. It's getting better. But even I'm guilty of it. You know, I've when I was going through my divorce, before I had all my issues, I actually sought out counseling on my own, paid for it out of pocket. And I'm sitting there in my counseling, in my therapy, and I'm still trying to bullshit my way through it. Quit it. We don't have to be big, strong men. We don't have to be. We don't have to be big, strong women. You know, if it's affected you in any way at all, then I get that. You know, everybody's entitled to their own opinion, their own. But just because somebody made an error in judgment, you know, they made an error in judgment just like you turned on your left turn signal when you were trying to go right. All sin's the same. They just can't come back from theirs. You know, a real good friend of mine, the gentleman that actually helped me get clean and sober, you know, dragged me out of the situation I was in, put me in a sober living house, gave me work. One of the best things I've ever heard him say, or one of the best things I've ever heard anybody say, you can't unring a bell. You can't unring a bell. You know, we need to, rather than being big, strong men, we need to say, we are, yeah, I know I look rough and tumble, and I am. I'll fight anybody on the planet. I don't care. But I get my feelings hurt a lot. You know, these are not us, but the generation of young men and young women raised behind us are a generation of realistically, they're a generation of young kids raised by women with no support. So a lot of these young boys, these young girls are being raised by young women or older women, it doesn't matter, that are generally more nurturing. So we have it, and we can call them soft if you want, but what it is we're giving these kids an opportunity to be better than we were. You know, when my 15, 16, 17-year-old, you know, stepkids say, I got problems, I need to talk to you, I'll brush that off. You gotta take this shit seriously, man. It's not a joke. And you know, the unfortunate side is sometimes it is, and sometimes it's a cry for help. It doesn't matter how many times you see that cry for help, you better call. This isn't a boy who cried wolf situation. It's somebody's life.
This topic, the kind of take action, the raise awareness, like it feels so important to me, because I think that I think we live in a world where we give a lot of messages that we should be okay, that we should be strong, that we should be happy, that we should be grateful, and I think all of those things are great qualities. And I think that none of us can be happy and strong and grateful and proactive and actively engaged in self-care, whatever that is, all the time. I think none of us can do that. And so I think that for me, when I think about raising awareness, I think that one of the most powerful things is that we can send a message that you're not abnormal and you're not alone if you feel depressed, if you've thought about ending your own life, if you're having that thought right now. You're not failing if the things that you have done haven't made you feel better. And I think that we have to get to a place where we can say to each other, like, it's okay not to be okay. You're not the only one who's had that experience. And there are things that we can do, right? Like, we can be together through this. You don't have to be alone. And the more that we combat that stigma around mental illness, the more that we combat the stigma around suicide loss, the more that we're willing to talk about those things, I think the less alone people feel. And I say it can't always be up to the person who's struggling to reach out. They can't always do that. And my guess is that there are a lot of people who are coming to this event or who are listening to these stories that have been shared who can identify with that, right? Like, sometimes things have been so bad, I couldn't have made a phone call if I wanted to. I literally couldn't have picked up the phone. Like, the phone was too heavy to pick it up and to do what I needed to do. And so we can't put all of the pressure on the person who's struggling. Like, we have to make it okay to recognize when folks aren't doing well. We have to make it okay to be the one to reach out, to ask, to notice when things are not going well for someone. And I think that that's my biggest hope. That's my biggest hope for events like these. Like, let's just all recognize that suicide is a part of the human experience. It's a part of the human experience. So many people have had their lives touched by suicide, and we have to stop thinking about it as something that only affects those people or folks over there. Like, it is in the room with you probably every day, whether you know that or not, in the spaces that you're walking in. And so I think that the more that we can make it okay to tell those stories, the less alone folks will feel and the more lives we can save.
You have to raise awareness about suicidal situations. By not talking about it is not going to decrease the amount of people who are thinking about it. People just get good at not saying, or they get good at saying what people want them to say versus what's really going on in their heads and in their hearts. And I try to talk about it as much as I can on my radio show because, yes, it's a down topic. Nobody really wants to go there, but sometimes you need to go there because people are struggling. And it's like the elephant in the room. We see it, we smell it, we can touch it, but nobody wants to talk about it. And we're all dancing around having a dinner party. It's still there. And the numbers, I think, since COVID have increased. I don't have empirical proof of that, but I just know that with as many people who were isolated during, the pandemic, and with as many down situations, people are having hard times financially, which leads to hard times, within the family and relationally. You can't tell me that kettle boiling doesn't mean that people aren't struggling. And we just need to be real about it. And as those of us who have, come close to ending our lives, we need to be there like the first line of help, like the first responders, to say, hey, I got you. I've been there. I understand it. And you don't think that you could even see tomorrow, or you don't even want to see tomorrow. It's the last thing you're thinking about. You're just trying to get through the moment. So I'm never going to promise people that it's going to get all the way better, because I don't know. I've had moments when it was high on the mountaintop, but then I've had other moments, even in moving to Topeka, that were so low that brought me back to that humility of knowing, there, but for the grace of God, I could go there again. And, obviously don't want to go there again, but I know that if you've gone there one time, you could always go back. So I try to talk to people as much about it as possible without judgment, and to let people know that the struggle is real. And sometimes you don't know what to do, and to find people who can love on you and listen to you and assist you. And I know we've got wonderful resources in this community, thank God, because we have way more resources now than when I was 19. So I'm very glad that we have resources like NAMI and resources like Vallejo and other organizations that maybe don't get as much shine, that we have those resources just to be saying, we are here if you have a problem. And even if you can't afford it, because I know that some people are like, well, I can't get treatment, I can't afford it. There are plenty of organizations that are nonprofit that can help people out. And we need to do what we need to do to get rid of the stigma. Because you know what is it? 1 in 4 people is going to have some kind of mental illness. And so that literally out of 4 people, somebody is being affected. And I'm going to say 4 out of 4 people, because it depends on the day. It depends on the situation. It depends on what's going on in your life, because it could take you 10 seconds to go from being on the mountain to being down low. So never take for granted when you're having happy moments that it's always going to be like that, because it won't. And when it does get low, have enough things in your arsenal to know how to deal with those things so you don't get as low as you could get. Because for me, it's about trying to be proactive. I know certain triggers that, okay, I'm having a moment, and if I don't do this properly, if I don't take care of these triggers in the right way, it's going to lead me to further days of going and spiraling down, and I can't afford to do that.
Hi everyone. So for this video, it's about the action and awareness. So for action, I feel like it speaks for itself. Like, suicide has become such a huge factor in so many different lives and so many different people. I mean, you can see it in celebrities, you can see it in your family members, you can see it in your friends. I feel like there needs to be more action involved. And I feel like NAMI has that opportunity to do so, especially in Kansas, because I feel like Kansas needs it a lot. And as for awareness, I never stop talking about suicide. I've had so many people in my life and so many people around me that have struggled with suicide, that have committed suicide. I mean, I've even tried. I feel like we never should stop talking about suicide, because it's never going to go away. It's never going to go away. And I feel like people should acknowledge that. I feel like people should be more open-minded to people that have had those thoughts, or people that have been affected by it and lost a loved one to suicide. NAMI gives the opportunity to so many young, old, to get what they need. And they're not afraid to talk about it. They want to talk about it, and that's why I support them 100%, because they don't stop talking about it. They don't care. They want people to know that they have that support. I mean, what else is there for me to say? I mean, it's amazing what they're doing. And I'm very happy that they gave me this opportunity. I'm glad they gave me the opportunity to share my sister's story and let people know that it's real. It's real. It happens to any one of us. It happens. It can happen to anyone. So I 100% stand behind NAMI with them speaking out and giving anyone and everyone the opportunity to feel wanted and to feel like they're meant for something more.
I think I see two sides of the coin because I'm a mental health nurse and I also am a survivor of a loved one's suicide. So one of the big things that we decided straight away when we learned what had happened, one of the big things that we decided as a family, the three of us, that we were not going to do was like keep the cause of his death under wraps. You know, he died from suicide. And so his obituary read that he lost his years-long battle to depression. That is something that I think getting rid of the stigma associated with mental illness and treatment for it, I think that's a huge piece of suicide prevention and intervention. When more people feel like they are not crazy, when more people feel like this is maybe not a normal part of life, but something that isn't the end of the road or the bottom of the hole, you know, there are ways out. Those are things that I think that can help prevent suicide. And you know, all of us in my family now are treated for mental illness. We have been seeing mental health professionals. We take medications for depression and anxiety, and I'm happy to talk with anyone who asks me questions about that. I'm not afraid to say it any more than I would say I have high blood pressure or, you know, any other medical condition. There is no shame in getting help, and there is no shame in being ill. And those are things that I would say that, you know, reducing that stigma. On social media, I see sometimes that people will say, oh, this crime happened because that person was treated for mental illness. That's no more true than any other illness necessarily. I mean, I would want to list all of the other things that they were treated for in that case. And yet that's no one's business. One of the things that I am more interested in now than ever before is being a proponent of police departments not being the sole contact with people who are in mental health crises. We have got to, as communities and as society, we have got to bolster our crisis intervention teams and fund those, because we were told that this is an adult man who doesn't want to be contacted. And yet he had locked himself in a hotel room, having intentionally separated himself, hiding himself basically from his family, and having done a few days worth of research on suicide methods. It was heartbreaking to be told that the police officer and his supervisor had determined that they were not going to open that door, even though they could. They were not going to. And when I got to the hotel the next day, the security officer was still on duty, and he met me at the door to the hotel room at 6 a.m. when I first went. And I thought I was in trouble at first. I said, I'm not going to cause any problems. I'm not here to cause problems. I simply want to be here. And he put his arms around me. And he said, I'm so sorry that we couldn't open the door last night. And that was so hard.
Yeah.
Who knows if it could have saved him?
Yeah.
But I thought, if there's someone on the Kansas Avenue Bridge who is planning to jump and saying that they're going to jump, would a police officer drive by and say, they're an adult? They don't want to be contacted. And I know that there are laws that are different in hotels. And yet, laws can be changed. And those are things that I'm looking for in the future. I haven't taken action on them yet because I am still very deeply in the grieving process, and busy raising kids. So if you know someone who is talking about ways or is thinking about, is someone who is saying that, giving any indication that they are feeling hopeless, and I would say this for citizens, police officers, mental health professionals, interventionists. I would hope there wouldn't be a limit to what we can do as a community and as a society to help people, rather than just to say, well, he's an adult or she's an adult. So
yeah. And really, I don't have too much to add from what Mom said, but yeah, I 100% agree that we need to have, this needs to have some light shed on it, and we need to have this more, we need to have this known. And so I've been taking actions such as having NAMI in our school yearbook, and having that known to all the kids at my school, and so we've been working really hard to get it known to the people. So that's just kind of my thoughts to be added on to Mom's. So yeah.
So as we move through September and Suicide Prevention Awareness Month, I think it's really important for us to once again come together, share our stories, share our experiences. What I've learned over the last 10 years is that I'll be honest. When I first started this effort, I never thought that 0 suicides was a possibility. But through the efforts of the Suicide Prevention Coalition, through the efforts of the teams involved with 0 Reasons Why, I'm convinced more today than ever that 0 suicides within a year is absolutely possible. So if we can all come together, if we can all work together, I believe that is something that can happen in the near future.